So now we're going to move a little bit and just talk more on the marketer side. And I want to introduce this next person who is a wonderful person. I've known her for many, many decades now. We work together again at Phillips. You'll find Phillips, there's a lot of Phillips alumni among us. And then we started in this industry 30 plus years ago, and we've had the opportunity to watch the health market grow. Well, this person in particular has brought a lot to the market, and she's worked on the kind of behind the scenes, but she is an excellent marketer. She's an excellent copy chief, and I want you all to, I told her I need you to get your face out here so people can know who you are. So please, let me introduce you to Cindy Butehorn.
Thank you, Carline. So when the schedule for this came out, I sent Carline a message that basically said, do you hate me? I'm on the schedule after Gary Bencivenga. So Gary, I think I'm living Maxim 10 already right now, competing with the immortals. So as Carline said, I started at Phillips Publishing with Carline and Kim and Wendy. And because of that, I've known Clayton since I was a babe, 21. I was a journalism major who could not get a job in the middle of a recession. So I took a job in customer service at a publishing company and figured I would just get my foot in the door. And that worked out pretty well. I moved into the editorial team, but truth be told, I had absolutely no idea what this company I worked for actually did. I didn't know what direct response marketing was. I had never heard of copywriting before. So my boss, Richard Stanton-Jones, who is one of the greatest copywriters most people have never heard of, decided that I needed to learn about copy. And his way of doing that was to invite me to sit in on his package development meetings with our writers. And those writers happened to be people like Gary Bencivenga, Gene Schwartz, Jim Punkre, David Deutsch, Parris, Eric Batuel, and so many others, and of course, Clayton. I had no idea at the time that I was getting a world-class education that you could never pay $1 million for, and that so many people would die for. And as you can guess, I caught the bug. I mean, how could you not, hanging around with people like that every day and learning from the masters? From there, I got to get into marketing and copywriting and publishing through Phillips. And when I left to start my company, Net Effect Marketing, Clayton and I kind of lost touch. And for years, we just were not in communication. He had gone into the health division, as you guys have heard, spent a lot of his time there. And I was off building my business. And then we reconnected at an AWAI boot camp. And it was like we hadn't missed all those years. We started talking regularly, sharing ideas. And Clayton's questions when we got on the phone were always the same. What's working? What new stuff are you trying? What are the breakthroughs out there now? And after talking for a while, he decided that we had things that we could do together with the work that he was doing at Weiss Research. So we teamed up, and I had the privilege of working with Clayton almost every day for the next several years. I started my mornings early because, as many people know, Clayton was a 4 a.m.er. So I thought I was an early bird. I would come in at 6:30 and I would have just a boatload of stuff from Clayton waiting for me. And my first phone call most days was picking up the phone to a booming, "Hey, darling," from Clayton. I actually have saved a message on my machine so that I can hear that whenever I want. So we worked on copy, and Clayton would send it to me for crits. That's normally all the email I got from him was, "Here it is for crits." And after years of copy chiefing, I have to tell you, it was still pretty nerve-wracking the first time you send Clayton Makepeace crits on his copy. But he was always open to any idea that he thought could make his copy better. And he was happy to tell you when he thought you were wrong. But he always told you why. Because as you've heard from several people already, Clayton was always teaching. But Clayton wasn't just a great copywriter, he was a great marketer. And we spent a lot of our time building campaigns, cooking up new offer tests. And like Gary said, because Clayton really, really believed that products are what drove great copy, we spent a lot of time about product positioning and product development. He made me a better writer and he made me a better copy chief taught me countless lessons about getting into your audience's skin, about crafting, immersing, exciting campaigns. And you have already heard some of those lessons. You'll hear a lot more. But I want to share something a little different about what Clayton taught me. And it comes from the day that he told me, shocked me really, by telling me that he was going to make a change and start working with a new publisher. Clayton had the gig that most people dream of. Pretty free reign on his copy, wrote what he wanted to, didn't write what he didn't want to. He was delivering huge winners, big royalties, the works. So from most people's perspective, he had it made. But in a very Tom Brady-like move, the guy who had it all decided that he was going to go someplace new. He had already racked up all the trophies, the big contract, an idol to so many people, and he'd proven himself over and over and over again. But he decided to walk away. And he left his comfort zone to do something that was risky and something that honestly was harder, by starting someplace new, someplace where he knew he wasn't going to instantly walk in and be the top dog. He was putting himself purposely in a position to be surrounded by people that he thought had something to teach him and people who might be better at certain things than him. And it's because he truly loved copywriting. He was jazzed about what was happening in the industry. And just like the questions he used to ask me all the time, what's new? What breakthroughs have you had? He wanted to surround himself by people who he thought could teach him something and keep pushing himself and keep learning and keep breaking new ground. When you were in a group with Clayton, like you've heard lots of stories already, he was almost always the person in that group with the most winners and the most controls and the most experience. But he was also usually the one asking you about what you were working on and what you had to share with him. His move to the new environment was not a piece of cake. I don't think he thought it would be, but it was hard, even for someone like Clayton at times. So the lesson that I want to share with you today from Clayton is that whether you're just starting out or you've been doing this for 30 years, like some of us have, I hope that Clayton reminds you that one of the keys to greatness is to continually push yourself, to be a constant student, and to get outside your comfort zone and take that leap, not just in your copy, but in your career. Clayton and I talked about turning the tables after he left Weiss and me writing a package with him as my copy chief. And we never got to do that, partially because time, we were busy, but partially, to be honest, because I didn't take that leap. And I regret that. Doesn't mean that Clayton's not still with me though, giving me crits. I hear him in my head all the time, whether I'm writing copy or copy chiefing someone else's. I'll miss his bear hug, but I'm so thankful I had so many years of working so closely with him, and even more thankful for all the years he was my friend. Wendy, I love you. Carline, thank you for having me.
Thank you, Cindy. Cindy, you just made a point that I think we got to really remind people. We talked about what Pauline was saying about for the newbies. You brought an excellent point for us experienced writers, you know, and that is making that Tom Brady move. I love that. I love it, you know, because yep, you can get complacent. You can go, you know, I'm making decent money. I'm happy, you know, no problem, but you're not growing. And you know what? It's not just always about the money. It's about the whole process, the journey, the growth. And you're right. When Clayton made that move, he called me to tell me what he was doing. And I was like, holy moly, are you serious? You know, like what? And he's like, yeah, I'm going to go for it. These guys, they're young guys. I'm going to learn from them. I'm going to do stuff. I'm like, oh, you're going to learn from them. I see. Okay. You know, they're not going to learn from you. Right. So, but that was like a bold move. And I thank you. I've got a note for that to ask myself, what is my Tom Brady move? So I'm going to challenge everyone else to think the same thing. You know, don't get complacent in where you are now. What is your Tom Brady move that you can do to shake things up and keep the blood going with you too, and keep you young in your copy? So thank you. Cindy and I share so much. We have stories that go back to potty training. My children, she got to listen to all those stories as we worked together back in Phillips. So thank you so much for coming. I told you you're going to be amazing and you're going to bring extreme value to everyone. So once again, everybody, Cindy Butehorn, thank you very much. So now we're going to go back to the copywriting world. Someone else, another person who I think is definitely worthy of the title copywriting legend. This person has worked both in the financials and the health market also. I've looked at his copy through the years and seen what he did and said, how can I make this? how can I make this my own? So I've emulated him many times too. I'd like you all to please welcome Mr. David Deutsch. You're on, David.
Okay, it's telling me to unmute myself or something there. Okay,
Nope,
technology for us old timers. Thank you. It's so great to be here with so many friends, so many people I admire, and to honor someone that I really just admired, loved, looked up to in so many ways. Clayton was, someone that I really admired in copywriting and gradually got to know. Lori and I became friends with, he and Wendy. And, when I think about what I learned from him in terms of copywriting, I realize it's kind of almost the same thing as I learned just being around him and being a friend of his. And that was just, the life that he brought to living. You felt like you were living in a different way. He was always up for an adventure. One time, he and Wendy took Lori and I into the mountains of Colorado after a seminar. And it was just, such an amazing adventure to go up the mountains, go see elk, go visit this old deserted lodge that he and Wendy stayed at many years ago that was now kind of unused and kind of falling apart. And, it's the same sort of adventurous and life, I think, that's in his copy. And I wanted to read an example of that, of him adding life to something, of pushing the boundaries. And this was in that promotion of his about the chelation pill that helps your heart, the 23-cent remedy that saved John's life. And he's describing the benefits of what happens when you take the pill, right? And basically the benefit is that it cleans your arteries, right? And it showed how you get the stuff out of the arteries. So he kind of starts with that. This remarkable amino acid didn't just help remove, and then he goes further, right? This remarkable amino acid didn't just help remove plaque from John's cardiac arteries. It helps scrub every one of the 75,000 miles of arteries, veins, capillaries, and microscopic arteries in his body. Now, nutrient-rich, life-giving blood is coursing to places it hasn't reached in years, even in decades. So he took it one level further, right? Not just clearing your arteries so you don't have a heart attack, but when you clear your arteries, blood starts to flow through your body now. And that's like almost a secondary benefit. So he doesn't just leave it at that, right? He takes it further. Suddenly, cells that were once starved and dying throughout the body are being reborn, right? That's great. Now, of course, that body's getting to cells and they're being reborn. And again, he doesn't just leave it at that, but he pushes it even further. He goes through almost every part of the body and shows what getting more blood does for it, right? The brain cells that control learning, reasoning, coordination, and memory are being rejuvenated and sparking to life. Oh, wow, it makes my brain better too. Nerve endings, once deadened, are being revived and electrified. Creaky, inflamed, and painful joints are being soothed, renewed, and even rendered pain-free. My God, it's curing my arthritis now. Entire organs from his eyes, from your eyes to your ears, to your heart, lungs, liver, to stomach, pancreas, and intestines, and even your sex organs are being revitalized and are returning to their normal function. Wow, it's even my sex life is going to improve by taking this. So, to me, we can talk a lot about, people are always asking about copy techniques, right? It's like, oh, what's a good copy technique? Give me a rule, give me something to follow. If this, then that. But the truth of the matter is, I think that the great copywriters, they don't think like that. They don't write like that. They're somehow just able to put that kind of life. There's something about them and how they live and how they think and how they see things. And they bring that to their copy, and that brings the copy to life. Not some rule about I should write like this or I should write like that, right? It's just that ability. And to me, when I read Clayton's copy, I see that in it, right? And it just raised the bar for me. It continues to raise the bar for me so much. Like I need to bring that to my copy. I need to give my copy life. Again, to me, it came from how he lived. I don't separate that from the way I felt when I was with him. Like I saw more life in life, right? It's like his copy has color. Life had color when you were with Clayton. You did fun things with him. He wanted to go off on adventures like into the mountains. So to me, it was a privilege to know him as a person. It was just a great privilege to know him, to have him in the same profession as me, to learn from his teaching and to learn from just, reading his copy and having that as a bar to try to reach.
Awesome. Thank you so much, David. Thank you. One point you brought, that promotion is 23 cents. The chelation package you're talking about, that package I think has been in the mail in various forms for about 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's how long I was when Clayton wrote that package. It pretty much launched Health Resources as a company. And from there, I mean, like I said, we've used that copy over and over and over again. John is a famous guy with his arteries because of Clayton. So that is truly a great example to use. And I love what you said about how, a copywriter, the job that we have as copywriters is to make that product or that copy come to life. And I think John Ford, I saw a quote he said was that, Clayton wrote like he cared. Mm-hmm. And so when your goal is to make something, become a reality, if you care about it, enough that, you would say, would I want to give this to my mother? And how would I convince my mother to take this product that she would understand it? That was what Clayton did so eloquently. I remember one time having a product where I wasn't sure. I'm like, I can't make this work. I'm struggling with this product. And he's like, well, what's so great about it? I'm like, that's my problem. I can't figure it out. And he goes, well, why do you want to sell a crappy product? It's like, oh, okay. So you kind of go back to yourself. Why are you spending your time on something? You're spending, a month of your time on something you don't believe in. Something, you don't really think is worthwhile. So don't do that. So I tell my copy clubs all the time, don't help encourage a crappy product to get onto the market because someone you love may be taking that product. How are you going to feel about that? Taking something crappy, it's not good for them because you write great copy. Don't do that. So the mixture of being somebody who cares and somebody to bring in a genuine product to life is very, very important. So thank you very much for reminding us what Clayton shared with you about that. That was beautiful.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for this opportunity.
You are so welcome. And now we're going to come to another person. I've known this person, man, all her life, even longer. And she has been able to have me as a mom and make it through this point without necessarily being in a mental ward. That's a good part. But most importantly, she's also gotten to the point where she's embraced copywriting. So I want to introduce, when I talk about, we're going to have history and then the present and also the copywriting future. This person, despite the fact that she is my daughter, but despite that, this person really epitomizes what the copywriting future can be like. So ladies and gentlemen, my daughter, Tiara Cole.
Oh, no pressure. Hey there, everybody. Oh, it's been so amazing so far. I'm already overwhelmed that I even have to do this, but I'm going to do my best to have that futuristic approach. All right. So who was Clayton Makepeace to me? I'm going to be super honest with you guys. For the early part of my life, he was the bearded guy in the framed picture on my mom's desk that loved to hug people. And then he became the cool guy that let me shoot guns at bowling pins on his property. And then he became the awesome guy that hooked me up when it came time for my high school graduation. So I had no clue who Clayton Makepeace, that he was a master copywriter or a legendary genius in the direct mail industry. He was just Clayton, the bearded, cool, awesome guy that my mom worked with that really loved to hug people. And apparently I wasn't the only one who thought Clayton was cool, because I remember being 19 years old at my first AWAI boot camp, and there were people like lining up to meet Clayton and taking pictures with him like he was a celebrity or something. But when he saw me, Well, he just waved me right on over, gave me that big old bear hug while saying, "Hi, sweetie," in his deep, cheery voice. He made me feel like I was something special. And people who have the ability to do that, I just think that they're absolutely priceless. So I say all this to say, I didn't have a clue who this man really was or how big an impact he had on my mother and her incredible success as a writer until years later. To me, he was just Clayton. So what's the biggest lesson I learned from Clayton Makepeace? Well, like Pauline and Cindy mentioned earlier, when opportunity comes, you've just got to take your shot. I had the privilege to work with Clayton on one of his final projects right before he passed away. And over the years, I had written email and e-zine copy and a few special reports for Clayton. But this was an opportunity to work with him on a launch that had the potential to make millions of dollars. This was my call to the big leagues. Clayton had negotiated a deal with his client and that put him in a position to own about 1/3 of the company. And if we succeeded with this launch. And so he told me, if things work out, there will be more work than you and I and a team of other writers could begin to do. Can we say heart palpitations? I mean, this was a game changer for me. Clayton had done something similar, just like this with my mom decades ago. And well, clearly we know how things turned out for her, am I right? So I was like 10% excited, 90% petrified. And I could feel the sweat dripping down my back and my chest was starting to tighten. But then I read the last 2 lines of his email to me. What do you say? Hugs. And in that moment, I remembered, hey, this is Clayton. This is the cool, awesome, lovable guy that wants me to succeed. And he's been cheering me on with my copywriting and graphic design career from day one. And even though he's a legendary genius and master at his craft, at the end of the day, he's still that guy that just loves to give hugs. And he's asking me if I'd be interested in working with him. This is an incredible learning opportunity. Did I feel ready? No. But did I recognize I'd be an absolute fool to say no to this opportunity? Yes. So isn't that how it goes sometimes when you've got a shot at working with a new client? Maybe it's even your dream client and you were absolutely scared to death about it. But just stop for a second and think, does your client want you to fail? No, he wants you to kick butt so you can make the company some money. And will your client do what they can to help you out? Well, it makes sense that they would, right? Because they want you to succeed so you can make them money. Anyway, back to the story. So of course I said yes to this job. My mindset was, I've just got to listen and do what Clayton says. Anytime we had a meeting, I was recording it. And I read each and every crit that he made to my copy. I pulled a few of the tips that he even gave me to share with you guys today, like following the 3T outline. You got to tell your reader what you're going to tell them, then you tell them, and then you tell them what you told them. And then another tip was, as you edit, think about writing in a way that intensifies the copy. Just keep piling on the benefits. Not only that, but this too. And there's even more. Intensification after major ideas could really help the copy. But of course, my personal favorite crit to get was anytime he said, "Aw, you write like your mama," with a big old smiley face at the end. And I really appreciated that experience with Clayton as my copy chief. He had the right balance of commendation with strong, specific crits, so I could learn from my mistakes without losing my confidence. Now, this project turned into one heck of a roller coaster ride and ended up being way more challenging than Clayton had anticipated at the start. We had the project timeline extended and we had to change direction several times with where we were going with the promotion. And I was doing my best to try to roll with it, but it was definitely stressful and overwhelming at times. So I'll never forget, after one meeting with Clayton, he said to me, "I'm worried about you, Tiara. You didn't sign on for all this. I want to take a look at the royalty agreement and incentivize you with a bigger chunk. Because if we do this right, this thing can run for years and make millions of dollars. You'll make a lot more money. Okay, sweetie?" Yes, all of my calls with Clayton ended with "sweetie," and I am really going to miss that. But I just appreciated how his empathy for the struggles of a copywriter kicked in and moved him to make an incredibly generous offer that gave me some much needed encouragement to keep on going. I mean, I was in the thick of it, but I knew Clayton was pulling for me and cheering me on. Now, right when we had things going like a well-oiled machine, that's when Clayton got sick. So we didn't get to finish our project. And I'm not gonna lie, I was really hoping to be one of the cool success stories that Clayton would share at an AWAI bootcamp or another copywriting seminar. And then he would end the story with a casual, yeah, so I own a third of the company now. But the bigger win is that I've got second generation Copy Cub success in the same family. Now, I think that would be a pretty cool way to end things. So like I said, my biggest lesson was when opportunity comes, you've just got to take your shot. Tomorrow is not promised and life can throw some pretty crappy turns. That's why you just got to grab, learn, and grow from any opportunities that you get on your copywriting journey. And don't forget to show some appreciation to the people who helped mold and shape your success along the way. I may not have gotten to see that project through to the end, but you best believe the time I had working with Clayton gave me some valuable knowledge and experience that's making me a better writer. And I am so glad I did not let that opportunity pass me by.
Oh, thank you. I think everyone is probably seeing how shy Tiara is and how hard it is for her to bring up energy. So can you all give her a little love for just trying to be a little bit outgoing, just a little? Let me tell you, this year, Tiara and I are working together a lot, and it is so cool. It's so cool to be working with someone. And then she's like trying to boss me around, like, Mom, your copy is that. I'm like, hey, watch it, you know? So it has turned, she has been able to be a great copy chief for me in some things. That's been awesome. So I'm loving it. I mean, she and Milan are two of my two oldest ones who actually took on copywriting. They were there. Clayton has seen them grow all through the years. And so he has had his hands in many ways helping them grow with their career. So that is something that I'm exceptionally thrilled for. And the fact that he just really loved them and helped them to grow, that was just awesome. It was a blessing. So I appreciate that. And to see her going out there and sharing her stories, that's amazing. So Tiara did bring out something I thought was really important. And Clayton was very big about that, which is the 3 T's. You know, tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them again. You know, and so whenever I'm working with my copy cubs, they're like, I don't know how to write a letter. Okay, here's how you write a letter. Tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them again. When you do that, you've written your letter. Now go write it, you know, and that was a Clayton classic that was passed on to me and to the next generation also. So thank you very much.